Assalamu alaikum and welcome to the Mamluks podcast. My name is Sim. Along with me are my co-hosts, Mort and Mahin. We have a special episode for you guys this afternoon. But before we get started, help us out on patreon.com. Go to patreon.com// the Mad Mamluks and help us out in whatever way you can. Make sure you click on like and subscribe and all that good stuff. And comment in the comment section with your thoughts related to the show, and I'm sure you're going to have a lot of things to say related to this episode. And with that being said, our guest today is Naveed Husain, who is an attorney at is it still Farooqi Husain?
Yep.
Yeah, Farooqi Husain law firm in Chicago. He's probably one of the most recognizable faces in the Muslim community in Chicago, which is why we really were eager to have him on the show to talk about some of the issues that are related to the Muslim community when it comes to divorce and marriage and family law practice. Welcome to the show, Naveed.
Thanks, man. Thanks for inviting me. I think this is such an important topic, man. I'm so glad you guys are talking about this. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Well, let's start things off. When you are exploring law and trying to figure out which area of law, what attracted you to family law and divorce particularly? Because it just seems like so much heartbreak and pain involved in such a traumatic experience in people's lives. And why would you want to position yourself in that area?
Look, I did not choose to be a divorce attorney, right? So I started off, I thought I was going to be a corporate attorney doing mergers and acquisitions and criminal law. And so that's what I dreamed of in law school.
Pull
yeah, sure.
Yeah.
But, as I started my practice, that really wasn't what the community needed, right?
Yeah.
What the community needed was family law. And just one by one, we're getting these calls for divorce or custody or whatever. And it's like, okay, as a business guy, I can't let this go. So that's kind of how it started. And now it's 90% family law now. All I'm doing is divorces.
90% divorce. So I know you do immigration.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah. So actually don't even,
but that's a very small percentage.
Yeah. And actually my partner takes care of immigration.
Okay.
Primarily. I just kind of did that because I had to, I wanted to.
Right.
So I got a question. It's a dumb question, but can we call you Esquire?
What does that mean?
The ESQ?
ESQ. Yeah, that's an old term, right?
Yeah.
But is it still used today?
So my friends from UIC call me Esquire.
I'm not gonna lie. Like, if I was a lawyer, I'd put like my name and an Esquire at the end. It sounds pretty
ESQ
dope.
does look pretty cool.
I'm an Esquire, Not escort, Esquire.
Esquire.
So basically, was it that people came up to you and kind of said, "Hey, can you help me with this?"
Yeah.
Or that's how it started off?
That's how it started off. People would call me. They don't care about setting up a contract before they get into a business relationship with somebody. Everybody comes to me at the end. And so that's what was happening in divorce cases, family cases, people calling me saying that, my husband's beating me, or my wife is cheating on me, or whatever the case might be, or I want to protect my assets, what do I do? And I think the other attraction too was that I kind of understood the cultural aspects of how Islam intersected with American law, which no one else can really provide. Because when you try to go and argue like Islamic-based things like jewelry and meher, the judges don't care.
So why is that important? I mean, how are you able to utilize that edge that you have, like, as far as like Islamic and cultural knowledge? How do you utilize that? I mean, is there like a process where you can arbitrate before you get in front of a judge, and then that it comes in handy then? I mean, how does that work?
Yeah, that's a good question. So, I mean, I think it comes into handy in different ways. So one is, yes, if we're trying to mediate something, then I can talk about what Islam has to say, right? What does Islam have to say about property division or child support or maintenance, and see if we can resolve it in that way. So the Islamic knowledge helps there. But I think where it really helps is in the court system itself, right? Because these judges have no idea what Islam's talking about. So if somebody's talking about meher in the court, the judge is like, okay, this is Sharia law. We're not even going to talk about this. But if I'm able to connect the dots and pull up some old case about a marriage contract, or somehow prove that this counts as a prenup agreement, I know the language and I know what steps to take to even make that argument. Jewelry, for example. So a lot of times it's gifted to the girl, right? So it's going to be her property. But I know that guys and girls keep spreadsheets and they'll pay zakat on that jewelry. So now I can make the argument that this is an asset, not a gift, right? So like a non-Muslim's not going to know any of that.
So all you do is translate the Islamic terms into something they can digest.
Exactly.
Like mahr, an asset.
Exactly.
Right. I got you. Makes sense.
Yeah.
So I was curious. So how does it like go for you? So like usually it's like, so women, like in your experience, do you have a breakdown of like how many guys approach you for divorce versus girls? Like what's the percentage breakdown?
So that's a good question. So 75% of cases are filed by women.
Okay.
Right. So for me, my clientele actually.
So they're homebreakers. So basically, the women are homebreakers.
Yeah, I mean, it's
Trust
interesting.
me, the root cause. I
No,
mean,
but
okay. Anyways, keep going.
I think we should probably preface this by saying that I think we all, in a serious sense, I'm sure there's legitimate cases where
Yeah.
people need to get divorced and women aren't always to blame there. But I think there's a good amount where they're to blame.
So I think
A good amount, yeah.
There's a reason why under Islamic law that the divorce sits with the man, right? And that in order to have a divorce from a judge, you have to prove grounds, right? But obviously in Illinois, there's no grounds, so it's very easy for somebody to file divorce, no reason, any reason, and you're getting the divorce. So yes, 75% of women are filing the cases, but in terms of clientele, it's about 50-50 because I'll have the guys come to me after they get served, or the girls coming to me when they want to file. But if you look in the court system, who the petitioner is, it's usually the girl.
So so if they're Islamically speaking, right? So how does a woman, because if they can't, because my understanding was they can't initiate the divorce. So how does that work?
Islamically, but in the civil law, it doesn't matter, right? And so that's the other thing is that our community doesn't understand the divide between the Islamic system and the civil system. So they think that, okay, if I say talaq to my wife, okay, we're divorced. No, you got to take the steps in the court system to finalize those things, and vice versa. A lot of people don't realize that if you file in the civil court, if the girl files in civil court, the husband doesn't agree. I wish Shaykh Amir was here to say, does that even count as a divorce? Maybe not. Right? Because did the man ever say talaq? Did he ever agree to a khula? Has a judge gave the fasq? No. Right? So you might still be married under Islamic law if you're divorced under civil law.
What I see a lot of times is, and people, I know someone can get mad when I say this, but it might be taking a dig, but it's true. I see it. And I think that a lot of women, they use the Islamic rules when they want to get married and when they want to be maintained in a marriage, but the minute it's not comfortable, they want to turn to a non-Islamic system because it's about being advantageous, right?
Yeah,
like what's going to be in my favor, right? No, let's just be honest, right? I mean, and the reason why I'm bringing this up is because I think you were mentioning something on one of your shows. I catch some of your videos, and you were talking about a guy, or I don't know if it was you or someone else, but anyways, talking about how he wanted to make claims for money he spent on zakat on that woman while he was married to her, or while they're getting divorced. And technically, obviously, Islamically, we know that you can't get any of that money back, right? You got to pay to play, right? So you have it's your responsibility. But I was thinking, like, from a secular perspective, if a woman's coming to court and saying, listen, I want half of your money, I want alimony, I want the house, all these things that are not Islamically liable for, I mean, she's not liable to, or or she's
entitled to.
He's not
Entitled
liable
to,
for it, right?
Yeah.
Although it's wrong, but what would stop a man from then saying, well, I want to get half the claims on, it's an expense for me that for the last 10 years I've been paying zakat on you every year.
No, that's for sure, bro. I think that everybody's taking advantage of Islam when it favors them, but you're right. Unfortunately, the way that it's set up, that the women are the ones who take more advantage because of the 50% property thing that you brought up, alimony that you brought up. From the guy's perspective, they take advantage when it comes to the roles, right? And I think, and this is like a narrow discussion where we can talk about like divorce, but it's also a societal issue, right? Like society is not set up to strengthen marriages or to keep marriages alive. And if you have guys who are expecting their wives to work, cook, clean, you're taking advantage, quote unquote, of Islamic law, but not giving them the right. So I think that in divorce, the women are taking advantage, but I think there's arguments to be made that during the marriage, there's stuff going on both sides.
I think you've mentioned, I'm sorry, I think you mentioned it, and I wanted to let people know as well, too. One of the biggest things that, or the people that suffer the most are children.
Oh my God, yeah.
And I think that's one of your motivations in talking about this and doing that and trying to protect the Muslim family, and speak about that a little bit so people understand why this guy choosing such a morbid profession, or why is he causing fitna by encouraging people to get divorced? You know what I mean?
It's my fault. Everybody's getting divorced.
I just want to know. I mean, what was your? I mean, I heard that. I mean, in one of your videos, it was a good
because you're like
good
financially
reason.
incentivized.
Hey, maybe. No, man, it is the children, right? And I think that as Muslims, we have to. The family is our most important thing that we have, the most important institution, right? And the divorce is destroying that family and is destroying the kids, and that's going to have an impact for generations to come. And I just see these kids who have to like go to therapy from they're like 3 years old, or they're being kept away from their dads and made to believe that their dads are evil, or they're going to do something to them, or basically using them as pawns, and you can't meet grandma, you can't meet this person. Like, what are we doing to our kids, and how are they going to live up, and how do you think they're going to be practicing leading Muslims? I don't think so. And so that what I want to do is, I'm not saying that I can eradicate divorce, but I think we can make divorce better and make it less impactful and dangerous for our kids and for our finances, right? And that is one of my motivations, and that's why I want to talk about this topic, because Muslims don't let me. Right?
So you're not a fitna monger.
I mean, maybe I am.
You're not a home wrecker, are you?
No. So like, okay, so let's say this. Let's say sister comes to you, right? And she's like, "Hey, Naveed, I want to initiate a divorce with my husband," right? Could you then push back and say, has he agreed? Or do you automatically file? Or do you have, or would you say, do you then put your Muslim hat on and say, well, does your husband, has he given you the talaq, or has he done his part for let you proceed, or do you just like, what's your obligation as an attorney? Do you have an obligation that you have to honor her request, regardless of what the husband does?
So let me back up. So when I first started, it was kind of fine. I had more time to sit down and like, okay, let's go through therapy, let's do this, let's do that. But what was happening was that people were taking advantage of the free consultation. They would get a consultation with me so that their wife or their husband, I couldn't represent the other side.
Well, explain again.
Okay, so let's say somebody's about to go through a divorce.
Yep.
Okay, they don't have any intention to hire me, but they don't want their wife to hire me, or they don't want their husband to hire me.
Okay.
So they'll come and get a consultation with me.
Okay.
And now I'm conflicted out. So we had to start charging for consultations. And it came to a point where like I had to almost roboticize it and make that consult basically telling them all their rights.
Yeah.
And once I tell them their rights, bro, it's over, right? Because they understand what they can get in the court system. So yes, I'm getting the background to help them with their case, but I also understand that once they come to my office and once I give them that advice, it's going to be very difficult for them to maintain a loving marriage, because they understand it like it's war between the money and the children, and the advice I give them to how to start dealing with their money or start dealing with their children switches that mindset.
So legally speaking,
Yeah.
do you have to lay down all the rights first, or can you say, you know what, as a preference, I want you to seek a counselor first, a Muslim counselor,
Or refer
before you
you.
come back to me?
Yeah.
So before, I used to give people a discount for going to a therapist first, because it made my life easier, right? I didn't have to deal with like the details.
Right.
But again, yes, I think to clarify, I do try to ask people, okay, have mediation, try to work it out, blah, blah, blah. But at the same time, right, I have to be careful, right? If you're coming to me and you want a divorce and you're hiring me to punch somebody in the face, pretty much, at the same time, I have to be careful. I can't be like some, nice guy and say, okay, did you guys try to work it out? And, let's try to do it X, Y, Z. So I do recommend arbitration. I do recommend mediation. I do recommend therapists, but I get the pushback too, that I've tried this. He doesn't want to go to therapy. She doesn't want to go to therapy. She won't, give it up for me. He won't. So I become a therapist then, and I don't want to do that.
Right. I hear you.
Yeah.
It makes sense.
Okay. And then
Let's roll it back a little bit and find out, are the laws in, at least we're in Illinois, but in generally around the country, are they favoring a specific gender? Are they favoring a woman or a man? It's still not clear to me how, because there's been a movement where at least from what I've been told, was that the courts want to act in the best interest of the children.
Sure.
But it seems like the laws are still more in favor of women in marriage. And maybe you could clarify, maybe I'm completely off.
No, I think you're right. But why do the marriage laws exist the way they exist?
Yeah.
It's because of the Western theory of marriage. The Western theory of marriage is that you become one unified individual.
Yeah.
That your pocket is her pocket. You're one person till death do us part. And so this whole, Christian notion of marriage is what these laws are based off of, right? And so now if you have a setup where, let's say the man's working and the girl is not working, and now you have to end up paying maintenance. Well, the government is thinking that, okay, these people are one and the same. She sacrificed her career for this guy, and I'd rather the husband pay her maintenance than, file against, state benefits or something like that. So it's a whole system that, yes, it's going to protect the women because, quote unquote, they're financially, at a disadvantage.
Or in my case, where my wife makes double the money I make.
Yeah, then you can get maintenance from her.
So in your case, she should be getting a prenup from you.
Yeah, you should
protect her from you.
But I'm married 12 years and there's no prenup.
No, you can get a postnup.
You can?
But now you're.
Hang on. He just said something magical here. What's a postnup?
What?
Postnup.
Postnup.
It's exactly like a prenup, but you sign it after marriage. So you can still dictate how your assets are split and how maintenance is going to be determined.
But they can't go back on that. Like when you get divorced, you can't say, "Oh, well, I don't really buy that anymore." Like,
so let me okay. Yeah. Let's scroll that back a little bit more before we get into details of how a postnup or prenup work. But how do you even talk to your spouse about that? I know, like, that would be the worst conversation I would ever have with my wife. But I mean, and it would just be incredibly painful and just start off. Help us out.
So
how would you talk?
I think the way it comes into our community is through the premarital counseling. Okay, and so like Khalil Center, for example, or Ihsan Coaching. I'm sure there's so many, mashallah. They have like multiple sessions. Okay, one of the sessions should be finances. And when you start talking about finances, it can lead up to the prenuptial agreement, right? And so I think that's the way it has to come. And for the woman, it's also important because that's how they get their meher, okay? The other thing, too, is that we talk about maintenance being haram. We talk about all these things being haram. But if you negotiate that in your prenup, it's halal, right? The point is that the reason why maintenance is not allowed is because the man has no idea about it. It comes and slaps him in the face at the end of the marriage. But if she negotiated that up front and you say, I want maintenance according to Illinois law, okay, that's legit. So that helps the woman. And so if you kind of maybe bring it in that type of argument, or have the Shaykh
so would
bring it
that
up.
be in the form of mu'akhar, like pretty much? Okay.
So would you recommend in that case that a man shouldn't give his meher all up front during the nikah process so that they can work out how, in the event that the marriage collapses, how the assets would be distributed? Because you can't get the meher and then ask for all the, or maybe you can, I don't know, I'm asking more than stating, but it just doesn't seem to make sense that you're getting, let's say some guys give $10,000 to $20,000 worth of meher, and then you're asking for all this other maintenance expenses and things. How do you draw the line,
Go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to say that I think what he's referring to specifically is mu'akhar. So what happens is that a woman can charge however much she wants for dowry, and you can say, you know what, I want to have 10 grand right now, and then the whole dowry is 100,000. So you'll pay me if we divorce. You'll have to make payments of whatever that amount is over X amount of years, in that sense, right? Yeah. So I see where but I think the question comes from him is like, I mean, can there be something without mu'akhar where you stipulate payments and say, let's say there's no mu'akhar, he just paid dowry, right? Let's say he gave 50,000 dowry, and now she wants alimony in a post-up. Is that even Islamically allowed? Like,
so Islamically, if you negotiate it in the contract, it's allowed. That's what it comes down to, and that's what we're missing out on. Is to answer your question. It depends on leverage in the situation, right? Because now it's a negotiation, it's a business contract about, okay, this is the dowry, this is the mu'akhar, and you're gonna waive maintenance according to Illinois law. I get to keep my property. So all of this should be the conversation at that time.
Islamically, can that ever be amended? Like, you know how you think a postnup, you know how you think, can that be done also? Because what if the income status of a woman changes or a man changes in his marriage? Like, let's say right now I make, $300,000 a year, and, something happens to me 5 years in line, I'm making $60,000. So
in a prenup, it's fine. If in a prenup, if you made a prenup when you got married, you're 20 years old, and you get divorced at 40 years old, you make 3 times as much, that 20-year-old document you signed will still be valid. You can negotiate it anytime you want throughout your life. From the secular perspective, I don't know Islamic.
Yeah, I'm talking about Islamic.
I don't know.
That's interesting. I think I'd like to look into that. But a quick question here. So, I have a hunch here, but I want to ask you, what's the percentage difference like between women just who are getting divorced, looking for just alimony versus child support? Like, I really want to know, like, how many gold diggers out there? Like, I mean, I have a feeling it's a big number.
Okay, 95% of women who qualify for maintenance under Illinois law will take it.
Wow.
Yeah.
And
I don't know anybody
and what's
who's
the default like for that? I mean, like, let's say, like, I mean, is it by income range or how does it work? Like,
yeah. So the way maintenance is determined is it's the higher earner, like 33% of their income minus 25% of the lower income. Okay. So if you're making $100,000 and your wife makes $0, you're paying $33,000 a year in maintenance, depending on how long your marriage is. At 5 years, it's 1 year. At 20 years, it could be for the rest of your life.
What?
Yeah.
Wow.
But you know what's crazy to me is that I think
$33,000.
No, for 100,000, 33%. If you're making $500,000.
Yeah, so like then your net is like our
And
cats
that's
is
after
going
taxes, right?
People are going broke.
People are going broke. I mean, it's net. It's supposed to be net income. Yeah.
But they do it after tax. Oh, okay.
Yeah, net income.
It's net
Okay,
income.
yeah.
Where's
yeah.
all the advantages of the patriarchal system? That's what I want to know.
Well, okay, look, let's go back to
Yeah.
his thing. I think
Yeah.
the way he explained in the beginning.
And then
I
if
think,
there's kids involved, you're paying that too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
But maintenance, it's going to be counted as her income before you calculate child support. So maintenance usually ends up being higher than child support.
How is child support like calculated? I guess is it income differential or is it like
yeah,
Yeah,
is it a
flat?
weight thing? How fat your child is? How much you gotta feed him?
Yeah, so child support is based off of how many nights each parent has.
Yeah.
And the income of both parties.
Okay.
Yeah. So
So that's kind of a lot of the reason why the women's divorce attorney, they all try to get custody or majority of the coverage, they can get more leverage on. Like, I think they use the idea that, they're closer to the mother and they can get and
it's
something
not
like
really
that.
hard to get custody for the girl.
Yeah.
I mean, you're not really fighting too
Because I know
hard.
someone that tried and demonstrated
Yeah.
that he's a better parent and even caught them lying in court about supposed abuse and
Yeah.
all the stuff, and they still got custody.
Probably.
And the main reason was just to get that extra check to maintain their living lifestyle.
I actually have an example. So I have a guy I used to work with, right? He was never married, right? But he had 2 kids with his baby mama, right? And he was able. This is how he got custody, because she punched him, and there was a mark, and he called the cops immediately.
Yeah.
And he resisted, and they had that, and like they took her butt to jail.
Bro.
So
I
that's
have a
advice
case
for you, right?
yesterday.
Yeah.
I mean, I was gonna say, please
Yeah.
talk about it, because a lot of guys, they dismiss that stuff like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm a guy,
Yeah.
I don't want to get, they're gonna probably put me, but if you're going through a rough marriage, it's important to document all these things, right?
Yeah.
Like,
So I mean, before I get to the how to get custody talk, so in that situation, I had a case the other day where this girl was drunk, came home, stabbed her husband, okay, got an order of protection. She violated the order of protection, went to jail again, and the guardian ad litem is recommending a 50-50 schedule.
Wow.
wow. So
So-
that's a crazy thing, because
It's
I'm
crazy,
thinking about
yeah.
this, and I'm like,
Hey,
it's so easy for a woman.
wait 1 second. I think
Yeah.
a lot of people don't understand what even a guardian is.
Sorry, yeah.
Okay, so can you explain what a guardian ad litem is?
Yeah, so a guardian ad litem, basically, if you're fighting about custody, there's like going to be certain steps you have to take. First, you got to try to work it out yourself. The judge is going to make you go to mediation. If you can't work it out in mediation, there's going to be a court-appointed GAL, guardian ad litem. Their job is to investigate the situation, talk to the parents, talk to the kids, and tell the judge what should happen.
And the
Find out what's
guardian's
best for
regular
the
job,
kids.
the guardian's regular job is being an attorney.
Yeah, and they get like a special. They got to
Speed.
take a.
So they have like a relationship with the court where they'll appoint them, and then they have
Yeah.
to find out what the best interest for the child is.
Exactly,
And
exactly.
irrespective of the parent, there's no bias, supposedly, allegedly,
Supposedly,
right?
supposedly.
Okay. Yeah. So essentially, it's to find out what's a court-appointed individual
Yep.
who's responsible for finding out what is in the child's
Yes.
best interest. Right.
Correct.
Okay. But and this is another thing I want to talk about, because there are times I've heard where a woman can pretty much get like restraining orders and file things
Yes.
on the minute, and literally isolate. I mean, you could be going out for a sandwich at Subway and come back and you can get like a court order. No, literally,
Yeah.
you could. You could be on a trip and come back, and next thing you know, your doors are locked and you
Dude.
can't like do nothing.
So orders of protections are very easy to get. Okay, so basically somebody goes to court, they say whatever they want. No one's on the other side. Okay, they say whatever they want, and it's gonna last for 2 weeks. it's such a strategic move because that 2 weeks destabilizes things and changes the status quo. And so every lawyer knows that if you can start with the OP, you do, because you're setting the status quo differently, where one person's living here, one person... order protection.
Okay, sorry.
Where now you're starting off the divorce and you have the upper hand. So it is very easy to get. And a lot of times when it comes to like abuse and parenting time with guys, the judge always takes the conservative approach and says, okay, there's an allegation here. Now we got to go through X, Y, Z to prove that he didn't do it. And I have 2-3 cases where dudes haven't seen
so
their
it's
kids.
guilty until proven otherwise.
SubhanAllah, exactly.
Yeah, and that's really interesting because I think it lays the groundwork for people listening is that that person or that woman or man, whoever did this, can show the court that children are safe with them for those 2 weeks and well too. It's kind of a leverage thing where, they're already comfortable. Like through the whole process, they're here.
So let's say, for example, let's walk through some scenarios here, right? So wife files for divorce. Dude's like, yeah, whatever. Like, can he just be like, yeah, go pound sand, like, because when I used to work in my union shop, right, in the steel mills, the union agreement would like lay agreements on my desk, and I would just blow it off. I would just be like, hey, I'll get to it when I get to it.
No, it'll be in default. It'll be in default.
Really?
So
what
it'll
happens?
be in default, and then basically whatever the girl wants to tell the judge, or the other side wants to tell the judge, that's what they're gonna get, right? They're gonna get maybe 70% of the property, and maybe they prove that his income is higher and he's hiding income, so the child's like, you're screwed if you don't show up.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You can't just you just can't blow it off.
Yeah, they'll just go. They'll go along with the
they'll
case.
punish you essentially. Financially for not showing up.
Pretty much, because you're not defending yourself.
And actually, why it looks bad is that if you have children, it shows you're irresponsible.
Yeah, I mean, not only that, she's probably using your money to pay that attorney's fees anyways.
Yeah.
You know,
one of my friends, he said that
that's insult to injury right there.
It's like a double whammy.
All right, keep going. Sorry.
A friend of mine said that his ex-wife said that, hey, you're a public figure during their divorce. You better agree to whatever I'm demanding, or else I'm going to be setting up this order of protection and stuff like that. That's going to go into public record, and that's going to look bad. So you just give me what I want, and you better shut up. So how should he handle that?
Oh man, that sucks for that guy.
Yeah,
because that's exactly what's gonna happen.
Yeah, no, I mean, when he told me about that, I told him, that guy, I was like, hey, I'd probably, if it was me, I told the other guy, I'm like, hey, I probably would file order protection first. I'm like, you're crazy.
Yeah, I mean, it is true. The
Would that
best
be good
defense
though,
is
to do?
offense.
Or
The
would that
best
cause more
defense
problems?
is offense. And the other thing too is, what is the worst case scenario when girls are saying, I'm gonna take you to court? You know what's gonna happen. You know you're gonna lose 50%. You know you're gonna pay maintenance. So at that point, it's like, okay, what's worse for you? Your reputation or this money?
Paying this bill.
I don't know.
Yeah,
Or you can hire a mob boss.
Yeah,
and
but
put a hit on her.
No, but
we don't advocate killing anybody.
Hang on. But it's more than that. It's not just the child custody is tied into how much compensation the woman gets. So it's in the woman's interest to fight against a 50-50.
Yeah.
At least in Illinois, the way it works is that if you don't get 50-50, then you have to actually the more custody the woman gets, the more compensation she gets.
Basically if you have like a 60-40 schedule, then you're paying full child support. Okay, it's only when you have like a 60-40 and approaching 50-50 that your child support is not going down.
Okay.
So there's a lot of fighting that happens. We call it a 5-9 schedule and an 8-6 schedule. Basically, if you look at a 2-week block, 14 days, right? 7-7. And if the guy gets 5, the girl gets 9 out of those 2 weeks, he's going to be paying full child support.
Okay.
But if he magically gets one more night, okay, 6-8, his child support drops dramatically. And that's how Illinois set it up. It's stupid. But that's where everybody's fighting now. That one night.
So, by the way, before we get into this, are there any like possibility of these things changing these laws, or are they just set in stone? Has anyone tried to challenge these things in the past, or is there any hope in doing that? Or?
So there was a presumption of 50-50 bill going around in Illinois, but it totally died. Basically, there would be a presumption of equal custody between husband and wife, but for somebody proving otherwise. Whereas now it's the other way, right? You have to prove what's in the best interest of the children. That kind of fell off. Maintenance, I think maintenance is our biggest problem. At the end of the day, I can understand splitting property. I can understand child support. But what bothers me is maintenance the most.
Yeah, I agree, man. I don't think any father is gonna question giving money for kids.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a deadbeat. Yeah. It's a non-brainer, like a no-brainer. I want to give my kids money to eat and have good time. Yeah. That's not an issue for a father, right? It's not or even property. Hey, I want my kids to live in something that's decent. Yep. That's not going to be a major issue. But what I think when men feel like, hey, I got to give my money to this woman who deserves nothing of my money, and they feel like they don't deserve any money. And the worst part about it is that some of these settlements are so damaging financially that these guys can't even remarry. Yeah. Like, because they have no way to provide for a new family because they're so stuck with the old family that it's problematic.
It's not the old family, the old wife.
Yeah, the old wife. I'm sorry. Yeah. But I mean, that's what I meant to say. Yeah, the old wife. Exactly.
The thing is, okay, so I have a friend who recently got divorced, and he had no kids. He's married for like 5 years. He didn't make an exorbitant amount. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if he really had to pay her that much, to be honest. It was more like the court fees itself. Yeah. I was like, how much money did it send you back? He's like $70,000. Like $70,000. That's like a year. 70.
Wow.
I was like, dude,
for
like
a 5-year marriage. I don't know who he went to, but I mean, the thing is that if you don't have kids, on average, you're gonna drop $7 to $10 grand on a divorce, right? If you have kids, you're fighting about money, you got businesses going on 30, 40, 50, 60, 100.
And that's not like in the back end, you get paid up front. Like you got
to it depends on the lawyer. Again, I work with the Desi community, so I got to figure it out. So we do take retainers and monthly payments, but most lawyers will want all 50 grand up front and say, okay, take it out of your retirement or sell your house. And then we'll get
so going. It's called a retainer, pretty much.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So what if you make it? What if you have an ideal situation where the divorce is like, all right, we're just not working out. We're gonna do divorce ihsan. Yeah. Like, how would that look like ideally?
Dude, uncontested case all day. So the ideal situation, in my opinion, is obviously Islam tells us what the ideal is, right?
Right.
First of all, you try to work it out. You separate your beds. You appoint a representative on each side. And you take that step by step, right? So let's say that representative gets you to a agreement. The best thing would be that you come to me, you tell me already what you've agreed to. This is what we're going to do with the kids. This is what we're going to do with the money. I write it up for you. It's going to cost, the whole process might cost like $2 grand. And I'll register with that court. I ask you a few questions in front of the judge. We're done in 1 month. That is the ideal situation. We don't need judges who don't care about you or your kids. You're just 1 out of 100 making your life decisions. We need to make our decisions within our own community. That would be ideal in my opinion.
So then so like you agree what the child support is. So let's say, for example, a situation where both parents are working. Yeah. But like, okay, dad's like, okay, I still want to pay for my kids. Yeah. Right. So we'll pay. They'll agree to some kind of like settlement. Like, see, I don't know how most dads are. Realistically speaking, like most moms are raising the kids, right? To be honest, it's like for us, it's like I see my girls like I play with them for a couple hours, like all right, or no, like 15 minutes, and then like all right, I gotta watch this game, I gotta do a podcast. Yeah, you know what I mean?
So it might be cheaper to hire a nanny than give alimony.
Yeah, could be. Yeah. Here's the other thing, right? Is when we're talking about child support, it's actually taking into consideration both husband and wife's income, or mom and dad's income. Islamically, technically, it's not supposed to take into consideration
mom's income.
Right. And so I think that's where the balance lies, right? Is if our community went hard on child support and not on maintenance, I think that might solve the problem.
But there's situations where, like, so let's say me, for example, right? Yeah. Well, if my wife's making more money, right? There are families like that where the wife makes a lot more than the husband. Sure. Then, a lot of my child's lifestyle is based upon what she makes. Sure. You know what I'm saying? Like, if it was just me making money and she wasn't working, I don't know that could, you could send them to like private schools and stuff.
If it was under Islamic law, right? After the girls turn puberty, they're supposed to come live with you. After the guy is able to, use the bathroom on his own, he's supposed to come live with you, right? So, I mean, that's the thing. If we're trying to apply the Islamic paradigm, it's hard to do it piece by piece, right? We got to apply the whole thing. So, to your thing, okay, yes, the lifestyle is based off of your wife's income, but Islamically, it's your job. Of course, we're not talking about you realistically, but it's your job.
Don't be a deadbeat, Mahim.
You know what I mean?
I think that makes sense. Right? Yeah. And I think this comes back to the original conversation of prenups, right? Yeah. And how to pose that. And I think one of the best ways, to be honest, is just saying, hey, do you want to have an Islamic marriage?
Yeah.
If you don't, why are we bringing the imam? Why are we paying mahar? If you don't want to do it Islamically, then I won't pay you a diamond mahar. I mean, if you just want to, if you want to go about it that way, right? I mean, what's the point? Because we're starting it off, we can't end it the non-Islamic way, right? Yeah. So I think using that angle as a leverage.
Here's another angle. You know that nikah paper that you sign on the day of your nikah? That doesn't mean jack crap in the court system, right? Because we're about to get into the technicals of prenup, but basically you need full disclosure on both sides of all your assets. You need lawyers on both sides, and you have to sign it well in advance of the marriage. These nikah papers, they're one page. You're signing it on the day of. There's no disclosure. Basically, if you don't sign this, your mom's going to kill you, right? So that's not going to count for anything.
Right.
And
just for your mom to hang up.
And that's why I think that's another point of the conversation is that, wife, you want this mahar that we're writing on this piece of paper. This means nothing. We need the prenup. I mean, I don't know how to make the conversation.
Well, can you give us some examples or real life stories you don't maybe you've heard or from your own clients, but how do some of these people take advantage of both the stipulations of the nikah contract and taking advantage of the court system and trying to make it work for them?
So, okay, from the female's perspective, right? So Islamically, the guy's supposed to pay for everything, right? They're supposed to pay for the house, the clothing, the kids. Technically, they don't even have to. The girl doesn't have to clean the house, doesn't have to cook in the house. Okay, technically speaking. So that whole life, 20 years, the husband is paying every single penny, and now you divorce, and so you take an advantage of the Islamic perspective. Then in the divorce, you again take advantage of the Western perspective, and now on top of that, he paid for everything your whole life. Now you're going to get maintenance, 50% of the property, and maybe even more than 50% of the property. So I think financially is where the advantage is taken care of on both sides.
Okay. Well, why, at least if I was a girl, right, and a guy's talking to me about prenups and stuff like that, or just even not paying up his mahar up front, I would just say, hey, stay a virgin, you know? Yeah. And a lot of guys don't want to, I mean, this is their one shot. Guys, at least when it comes to what you were talking about, the marriage day and signing the nikah contract, they're ready to sign anything because their judgment is clouded.
Exactly.
They're finally about, at least the practicing guys, the guys who haven't gotten any action their whole lives. They're ready to throw everything.
So this is the biggest thing, right?
Yeah.
People don't want to talk about this, but there's dynamics here, right? The younger you are as a man, the less valuable you are, right? Yeah. Okay? Women in their prime, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 25, you're prime. I mean, you can pretty much pick guys you want because you have a lot going on. You're young, beauty, you're fertile, you have children, right? I mean, you can have children, I'm sorry. And men, because I think what people don't realize is that women inherently have value. Meaning that when they're born, the fact that you're going to be grown up and you're going to hit maturity and you're going to be able to have children and have beauty, that's inherently valuable to any man. But men, we don't have that value. We have to go out and prove it. Like, we have to go out and say, okay, I gotta get educated, I gotta get money, I gotta be ready to get married. And what men don't realize nowadays is that when we're younger, we're gonna do stupid things because we feel like our option is just like we don't have too many options. Oh my God, she's willing to talk to me? Yes. You know what I mean? Like, you're going for it. But as men get older, start realizing, wait a minute, my value, because women's value starts decreasing as they hit like 30, 35. I mean, we're talking about like marriage. I mean, I'm not speaking, in terms of being desired and get the likelihood of being remarried. But a man in his 40s who's in his prime income earning years, he's valuable. I mean, he's because he's mature, he's stable, he knows what he wants, and he's lived life. And I think when men get to that age now, especially a lot of you guys who have been divorced or didn't get married younger, they're having immense trouble getting married because they fear what is out there. I mean, they're hearing these stories, and I think, and part of that is because of the stories they're hearing out of the Muslim community. Forget about the non-Muslim. Yeah. Like, we expect that to be heard. But when you have Muslims that are doing this, and then you're like, why would I want to risk all that? You know what I mean? And then, and unfortunately, it's not the best outcome, but we understand why this is happening. And I feel like the message here is that, for sisters, if you're listening, that if you keep pushing that envelope, like, you're going to get a pushback from men that you're not going to like. right? And that's not, it's not a threat or anything, but you're gonna be unmarried.
Yeah.
You're gonna be like a second wife option, right? That you don't want to be in. You're gonna be in your late 30s, early 40s, unmarried. With a bunch of cats in your house, right?
No, I think you've hit the nail on the head. It's a systemic issue, right? Like, even think of the way that we're finding our spouses. Before, it was within our community. We knew their values of that family. We knew that girl's background. Now we kind of just leave it up to what picture looks good. That's how the marriage starts. So right from there, the fact that we're so atomized and that we don't have connections in our community to make those marriages happen is the very first problem, right? And I don't want to talk about like ideologies or liberalism or whatever, but really that is the problem, right? Because that's what's destroying marriages and the need to be part of a family, where if you don't have that desire, right? You don't desire to be a mother. You don't desire to be a family. You don't desire to, raise children who are going to carry the flag of Islam, and all you desire is a career. That's the problem, right? That's if that's the type of marriages we're going to have, they're just flings. They're not marriages anymore.
I mean, I get where you're coming from. Like, I mean, by the way, we're totally fine with you trashing the left on this show. It's okay. I don't know if you had a... but I mean, I get what you're saying. You don't want to go down that rabbit hole and start this conservative versus left. And I think... and I agree with that. Yeah. And I think why? Because we don't want to pick any side, because it's not ours to pick. We have an Islamic truth, an objective truth. And we know that it works.
Yep.
Either you're choosing to follow it, whether and if you don't, that's if you're agreeing with the right or the left. Like, there are guys who go all the way to the right and they go MGTOW. Like, I have nothing to do. I'm not going to respect any woman, and that's equally absurd, right? I mean, so what I'm saying is that people are choosing other than Islam. Sim has talked about this many a times, about this mentality that we have as modern Muslims, meaning that what's grounding us?
SubhanAllah. Look, Islam is so beautiful. Like, when I think about the divorce laws or estate planning laws of Islam, and you really look into it, Islam is the only system that is trying to preserve many things at once. Capitalism is trying to preserve capital. Communism, whatever, right? So Islam is trying to do so many things at once, and it does it. The preservation of wealth, the preservation of lineage, the preservation of your mind, the preservation of XYZ. And if you try to plug in the rules of Islam and divorce and marriage into that, it makes sense, right? Because the way that the system is set up is not going to further family or preserve family or your lineage or anything else like that. So I think you're right that it is a micro problem where, girls might be too career oriented, but it's also our problem where we're not instilling the Islamic ideal in our communities and setting up marriages that way.
I mean, I agree, because I mean, a lot of guys would say, "Oh, I want a woman who doesn't work a career and just stays home," and that's great. I understand that, but don't equate a woman who works out in the field to necessarily mean a woman who's going to challenge you, because there are women who can bring feminine energy home, and they can take care of a husband. I mean, and work a job and take care of the kids and do a lot of things that a man expects in the household, but yet be able to hold on a job and a career, right? And we can't label all women one way and all men one way. So I don't think the problem is necessarily like, I mean, you can have your own preferences, but I mean, and religious leanings, that's fine. But working a career necessarily doesn't make a woman a bad woman.
No, right? I agree with that. And your last video was awesome, bro. So your last video, what I got out of it was that the guy brings home the status and the girl brings home the warmth.
Yeah.
Right? That's all. The guy wants, and that's what the girl wants.
Bedouin saying, and some guy asked the Bedouin, like, how do you define the relationship between men and women? And he pauses for a minute, he thinks, and he goes, the man serves her outside the house, and she serves him in the house.
SubhanAllah. Yeah.
And it works.
Yeah. So I was gonna say, do you have our sisters who are getting divorced? Some of them are like, let's say late 30s, early 40s. They don't have much of a family structure. They may be only children, or their parents have passed away, etc. Are they thinking about that, like, long term? Like, hey, like, my kids are about to be grown, I'm going to be by myself.
I don't know. Like, what motivates you after 20, 30? Like, honestly, what I've seen is that the men end up happier after a divorce than the women do.
Because a 40-year-old dude could easily get remarried. Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, easily. You know what I'm saying? It's you're actually a better prospect when you're 40 than you're like 28 is more to stake talking about. Yeah. Because now, and you can go upgrade to like a 25-year-old like Mamacita. You know what I'm saying?
Look pretty for you all day at home, and you'll be just making money.
Right.
Man, that's the goal, right? The goal is for all of us to somehow be in this building in our own little cubicles, and we're going to die there, right? Like, people don't realize that the way that we're dealing with marriages and family is that's our end up. We're all just going to be dying on our own. Yeah. But, like, I don't think we have the foresight to see that when I'm 60, 70, I hate this. Maybe you hate this dude. As long as he's not abusive, of course. But, like, don't you want to die with somebody
Yeah.
rather than
No,
alone.
but
I don't know.
Not
I don't
only
know.
that, I think truly what women need to realize is we're not picky. We're really not. I mean, we're very simple. We want food and we want femininity at home.
Yeah.
And obviously, there's a word I can't drop here, but nonetheless,
We
very
just
simple.
need some booty, like you
Yeah.
know that's about
But
it.
I mean, what I'm saying is that like
I make my own food, dude.
Like,
Like,
I mean,
I've
yeah.
only cooked myself, so I don't even need food.
yeah. No, but when I say food, it's part of a larger thing. And what that is that I think that if women are listening, they're trying to understand. Oh, these guys are just bashing women. No, what I'm trying to get here is that men desire good men who are religious men desire certain things. And when I say food, that's just a general thing for being appreciated. When a man sees food on his table, he realizes my wife appreciates me, so she made that food for me. I don't need to hear you say I love me. That's nonsense to me. Tell me that you appreciate me. Tell me that you appreciate what I did, because I'm going out there working, making money. I need to see you enjoy that and tell me thank you for doing that for me.
You guys ever read that book, Men Are From Mars, Venus, whatever?
Women from Venus. I haven't heard about it, but never read it.
There's this one chapter that talks about the scoring system. Okay, for a dude, they go out, they made 100 grand. They come home, they think they have 100,000 points in the bank. Okay, and they're chilling. You know, we're good, right? We just made all this money. For the girl, that's 1 point. But her changing the kid's diaper is a point, giving food is a point, cleaning the... So basically, she thinks that she has many more points than you at the end of the day. So it's almost like a, disconnect right there of who has the more points.
Right. But I think that goes... And look, I'm not trying to say that those aren't valuable things.
Yeah.
A woman is invaluable in a household, especially with children and rearing children and doing things. They're doing stuff that I personally, and most men I know, don't have the patience to do. Right? I mean, look at Mahi. He sees a kid for 30 seconds, he drops him off his in-laws, right? I mean, it's just it's not happened, right? I mean, but I think to tally it up, because just as what the woman is doing is invaluable, what the man is providing is invaluable too. It's not just the money; it's the way he gives the money, the way he provides, the way he's thinking about it, and the foresight that men have.
The foresight, yes, that's important. Yeah.
When you're getting married, women are thinking about, hey, you know what? I'm thinking about what place I'm going to go for my honeymoon, or what I want to, what I'm going to wear for my wedding night. The man's thinking about like retirement and college funds and future marriage of children. He's not thinking about the short-term stuff.
The other systemic thing, right, is that the women are relying on men too much, and men are relying on their wife too much in terms of emotional support and other types of support. If we actually had the community system and we lived near a masjid and we had our friends and family around us, they can actually put that burden, I mean not a burden, but offshoot that onto other family members rather than all of that coming onto the husband. So again, the society is not even built to keep marriages strong.
Naveed, a lot of Muslim men are now, at least, entertaining the idea of having a polygamous relationship. Now, when it comes to having multiple wives, do you set up a? How do you do it? At least legally, can you? Let's just say you have one wife who is a legal spouse. Your second spouse, she doesn't have all the benefits that the first spouse gets because she's not a legal spouse, so she probably won't fall under your health care insurance and stuff. So how do, in your experience, Muslim men figure that out to make it equal among their wives?
So I think, again, it goes back to the negotiation point that if the two wives negotiate separately that one of them is the legal wife and the other one's okay with not being the legal wife and that's part of the contract, then that's awesome. But what we have done is like corporate agreements, like LLC agreements. Okay, so there's this professor out in Washington or something, and she's like a pro-polygamy attorney, and she basically wants a system where when you get married, you pick what you want. Do you want the straight up monogamous relationship, or do you want this business type? And what she's arguing is that our system already has these commercial laws built in. So once you approve that, then we'll just apply commercial law rather than marital law. And so that's kind of her plan. And that's kind of what we're doing. Basically what we're doing is we're creating LLCs and contracts and having different shares be apportioned. And basically that is what controls if there's a dissolution of that relationship.
Therefore, that sister's protected in that way.
They're protected financially in that way. Exactly. But again, it also causes other problems, right? Like, being on the birth certificate or the presumption of fatherhood or paternity, like you said, insurance, healthcare, and things like that. But again, if you created a corporation and you funded it properly, you can have like a group rate apply to that LLC just like you would for your own employees, right?
Oh,
so there's
that's an interesting idea.
I like that.
Yeah, there's
make
ways
a wife
to,
an employee.
Yeah,
The kids too.
Yeah,
the kids,
it'd be
sure.
Polygamy and Concubines LLC.
Yeah. So that would work for polygamy.
Yeah,
You could have a multiple women as part of the entity
yeah.
and have their shares.
Yeah, and so that's what that professor is arguing, but that the way for that system to work would be that everybody would have to approve, right? Because just like if we started a company, we don't want some random dude jumping in, right? And so we would have to all approve for the extra partner to come into the business.
Yeah, but so I think that's where we have to restructure that because
Yeah.
I think the man needs like 60%. I mean, it's a majority vote. Like I'll consider it at the vote, but
Yeah, I mean, again,
This ain't a shooter.
yeah, you know, like it's coming out of your 40% share, right?
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
not coming out of my 60%. You know what I mean? But I mean, so let me ask you: has anyone ever approached you to do polygamy in like a corporate, like a corporate
Yeah.
structure? Yeah, is
Dude,
it?
we've done family LLCs
That's so
before.
dope, bro. This guy's a
Whoa.
genius. Like,
Naveed, Naveed,
I
you gotta
live
give
the
some more
dream.
details. How does this work?
So it's funny because it usually happens when, okay, so there's two ways it happens. One is some fob dude who wants to marry somebody from overseas, and so he wants to do a divorce on paper with his wife here, immigrate with them, and bring them over. Okay,
Yeah.
so that's one way that I usually see it. The other way that I usually see it is like, none of them are legally married.
So he wants to divorce the first wife and bring a second one over?
Yeah.
But still, so then it's not polygamy then.
No, but it is. I mean, he's not
No,
breaking the nikah. He's breaking the
He's not breaking the
civil
civil
contract.
The civil contract.
He's breaking the
keeping
civil because
nikah.
if he has to sponsor somebody, he
Yeah.
can't sponsor someone because
Bad, okay.
Yeah.
he's like, I am halal. There's no
Wow.
problem.
And the first wife, in those cases, like usually the first wife's got to be cool with the setup.
They say they are.
Okay,
They say they
I
are,
mean that's
right?
good enough for me.
I mean, she has to be if he's handing her divorce papers.
Yeah. But see, it's interesting because they're not getting anything, right? They're living in the house, and so they basically say that, okay, this girl's gonna come, you're gonna come, you both are gonna live here happily ever after. I don't think polygamy works in one house. I think you gotta have separate
Hell
houses.
yeah.
Yeah, you got to multiple.
That would be a nightmare having
Yeah.
both in one household.
But what I was getting at was the second situation is usually, let's say, already divorced. No one's on. He's not licensed marriage to anybody, right? And so that's where I think it's a little easier when you have the business rather than having one legal spouse and then few contract spouses. I think it makes
let me
sense
ask
that they're
you
all
the
contract
legality of
spouses.
that though. Like, could the courts come back and investigate and be like, hey, well, this is just a marriage?
So yeah, okay. So there's two interesting problems that we have. One is bigamy, the way that bigamy is defined in Illinois law, and one is marriage without a license. Okay, so bigamy, I don't think it's that big of a problem.
Wait, what does bigamy mean?
Bigamy means
Married more than one.
yeah, intentionally marrying more than
Okay.
one spouse. And so the question is, does that mean marrying two spouses under Illinois law with a marriage license? Does that mean marriage just whatever you and I define as a marriage? I don't know.
So marrying two spouses under Illinois law, that would be illegal though, right?
That's 100% illegal. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, that's 100% legal. The question comes in, what if you marry one legally and one Islamically? Does that count as bigamy? The thing
Well,
is that
how could it? I mean,
It's marriage.
Because marriage, in order to be recognized from the court, has to be a civil marriage.
yes. So, but the problem is that there is some cases from back in the 1900s. They haven't pushed this in like 100 years, but there is somebody like a priest who got indicted under the bigamy thing because he did a marriage without the license. You know, so that might be counted
And
as
he was
bigamy.
married to more than one.
Yeah. But the bigger problem, I think, is the person conducting the marriage without a license. I think that's more recently been prosecuted than the bigamy stuff.
Yeah.
And so if you're an imam and you go and you marry these two people without a license, technically you could be liable or you could be prosecuted for doing that marriage.
But
I think
what if
that's-
you're not an imam? What if you're just like, because in Islam you don't need an imam.
Exactly. That's where it
So,
comes in.
We got Sheikh Amr.
That's-
We hit the
No,
payroll.
no, forget
you
about
don't
Sheikh
want an
Amr.
imam.
No,
You
you
don't
don't
want
want
an
an
imam.
imam. Sheikh Amr can get in trouble.
Mort
That's
can
what
do
he's
the.
saying.
Mort can do it.
He's
I mean,
saying,
I got a beard.
he's saying you can get Mahin or Mort to be the officiant.
No, you don't need an officiant, bro.
No, I mean, you don't, that's what I'm saying.
You give the ijab and the qabul and two witnesses. That's all you need. You
Yeah.
don't need an imam. He got to the
Exactly.
conclusion, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Basically, if you set up the nikah in a way
All the
where there's
single
no
guys out there
officiant,
now, all the married guys having deviant eyes right now. They're like, hey, buddy, you want to show up to my nikah?
and again, this is not legal advice for anybody.
My wife already said she's not listening to this episode, so.
Yeah, I told them, yeah, they're not listening to this one because this hurts them too much. But hey,
Yeah.
this is, I think what women need to realize though is this is part of the problem. By toning it out and saying, oh, I don't want to have it,
Yeah.
right? And the sad reality is that men know, no matter what we tell you, it's not your choice. At the end of the day, I mean, we'll consider it. I mean, we don't want to hurt our wives and spouses. Yeah. But at the end of the day, that decision ultimately is for us to make. And I mean, I'm not saying that you should not consider the wife or your love for your spouse, or that's a different story. But what I'm saying is, pound for pound, at the end of the day, you know, it's up to Mahin or Naveed or Sim. Am I going to do this or not? Right? And
I'm definitely not.
Yeah. I mean, no. And,
Naveed, are you married?
Yeah, I'm married.
Yeah. So his wife must be watching.
How does your wife feel about this?
She's like, she knows I love the Mad Mamluks, right? And I've been watching you guys since day one.
Does she hate us too, though?
Huh?
Does she hate us? Most people's wives hate us.
No, she loves everybody.
All right, cool.
No, but she doesn't like polygamy, that's for sure.
Yeah.
No, but
I don't
personally,
think any woman generally likes polygamy.
I like the legal aspects of it and like thinking about like how to work around it. But personally, bro, I'm too caught up in everything else to even think
no, but
about
I think
girl.
you should, man, because you probably got this reputation as a home wrecker now, and so you should probably find a way to make extra homes now. You know what I mean? Be a home
Fix
builder.
the situation at cost, yeah.
Right.
Fix the problem.
Because some of these
cost.
divorce sisters are gonna be growing up old with cats. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, because
then-
you got to counter the effect, right?
True,
One is
bro.
In a
the
way.
breaking the marriage, one is making a
All
marriage, right?
all at the same time, like when you like let's say if I'm 40 years old, right, and my wife's like, yeah, Mahin, go ahead and like let's add someone to the team.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna be necessarily going to that 42-year-old sister with 4 kids right away. I'm be like, nah, I'm good. I'm gonna go find me like a Moroccan fob that can import.
18 to 25, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't blame you.
You got to be careful about those girls too, though. Those girls sometimes they'll just take your the citizenship and they'll just run.
I mean, that's fine.
Prenup,
How many years I'm gonna get action though? You know what I'm saying?
I mean, prenup. He's right.
You know,
He's talking about prenups, right?
I'm gonna
That's
get me a vasectomy, all right? So I'm gonna have no more kids. You know, it works out. You know, if
Yeah, he's just thinking it in one way, but I mean, but I think it could still work though. Meaning that if you mention, hey, you have a prenup, and actually, if you just make it known, like, hey, look, if just so you know, I don't expect you to, but if you take off, I have a prenup, and so just to make sure that we're all safe.
But but this is a good question, Naveed. How does a guy who has who brings a wife, or even a girl who marries a guy overseas, protect themselves in that sense where that person just doesn't run away with their green card? How does that work?
Prenup. Yeah, I mean that's really the only solution is the prenup. And there's actually a system.
No, there's no immigration laws that protect that.
Okay. So basically, when you get a green card, it's only valid for 2 years. And so you have conditions on your green card, and you have to remove those conditions after 2 years. Basically, the government is checking in 2 years: are you still married? Do you have a kid by now? Have you combined your finances? Do you live together? And if the USCIS is what it's called, if they're not happy with that, they might not remove the conditions of your green card. So there is a system kind of built into that.
So
yeah.
But I heard a lot of people actually just get it though. I mean, they don't
do.
because I've seen people who get actually divorced while they're in the process and still get the green card.
Yeah, if you have a kid, you're done, because it shows that basically what they're looking at is, was this a bona fide marriage? Was this a green card marriage, or did they really want to marry each other? If you have a kid, that proves, quote unquote, to the USCIS that you actually wanted to get married, and you'll get the green card.
So I kind of want to come back. Now, we were talking about polygamy, and the reason I think it comes up a lot too is that I think part of the reason why men do or think about this is kind of related to what we're speaking about in terms of divorce and all the stuff, is because I think a lot more men would feel comfortable having a divorce in peace and be fine leaving that and then marrying somebody else. But because the process is so complicated, more men start contemplating, you know, like
to fix their marriage.
Yeah. Like they think, oh, I'm gonna have another wife and I don't have to worry about divorcing because I'll just, you know, do it in secret.
Yeah.
And, you know, like I don't have to pay alimony. I can still have a nice time with this wife. I can stay together with this wife for the kids and whatever. But I think the whole thing it ties down to is that divorce has been made so messy, and I think, and this is my humble opinion, I don't know how you feel about this, maybe I'm going to get some slack for this, but I think they've given women too much power in divorce. I think there's a reason why Allah gave man the power to make talaq, and that woman can't. When you gave them this power, because they use it without thinking. Most of them. They use it to hang over as leverage over relationships. And the problem is that I don't think most women do it by themselves, but there's other women in the background that are part of these women's clubs and all these social groups. They encourage him.
Exactly what it is.
You need to be with the man that loves you. You are a queen. You're the boss lady, right? And go out and then put in these thoughts in your head. And then they think they're going to be better off because some Prince Charming is waiting to pick them up after 40 and 4 kids, that life is going to be great. You found your true love at 45. It doesn't happen that way.
Dude, that's the greatest point, right? Because it is the family members who are destroying the family more than the individual, right? Like if the girl, we've heard this all the time. If the girl complains about the guy in front of their family, what happens, right? The girl's going to forgive the guy, but the family continues to hate the dude. And that's exactly what happens in a divorce, is that the girl might understand that this is a great father and he's going to raise the kids and the kids need to have him in the life, but it's going to be her mom or her dad or her brother or her whoever saying, no, keep him away for the kids, or take him for all he's worth. This is what he did to our family, our izzat. So you're right. It is the pride and the entire family who is exacerbating these issues.
Yeah, but I'm saying also, to be honest though, even aside from family, is always complex, right? We get that, right?
Yeah.
It's always from day one, in the Sahaba's time, families always made like rivalries and stuff. But now, with this whole empowerment movement, right? You literally have like support groups, or supposedly support groups, and marriage counselors who are supposedly counselors, but they have a body count for marriages more than it's huge.
A lot of them cats are divorced, or ladies are divorced.
Right. And then the thing is that they'll be whispering these words of encouragement, empowerment in their minds, which is like, you're independent, you're strong, you're beautiful, you're powerful. And then the minute they get divorced, these women are alone, and those same women that were whispering this stuff are back with their husbands. And, in their families. Yeah. And these women are alone now, and they're wondering why they're unhappy, and nobody wants to marry them. And that turns into, rather than saying a practical argument that, hey, maybe you jumped the gun, now it turns into the argument that there's no good men. Yeah. Men are trash. They're deadbeats, all this stuff. Men demand too much, and then why don't they desire me? Well, I'm sorry, lady, you're 45 and 3 kids. I'm sorry, there's a 25-year-old waiting to get married.
Exactly.
It's just your values down.
In our community, everybody's filing for divorce the day after their fight. In the non-Muslim community, these guys are separated for a year, 2 years. They've kind of done their own finances. They come up with their own schedule. They just come to us for the legal work, and there's no fighting, right?
Okay, so
most of the time.
Can you explain? So, like, there's a fight.
Yeah.
And a woman flies off the handle, and she calls you.
Dude.
Right?
I'll have so many times I'm getting on Mondays. I'm sure my calendar is already full. On Monday, something will happen over the weekend. They come to me on Monday or Tuesday.
It's something stupid, probably, right? It's not. Would you say percentage wise? Is it like abuse, or is it like?
He went to the qiyam too long.
Or you were at qiyam too long?
Yeah.
He was
got milk on your back
too much. Yeah. What's your problem, man?
He was off 40 days.
No, or something like, okay. You
stop making fun of my TJs, all right?
Or
they got banned from Saudi already.
Or for example, you didn't clean the house or something. Like,
no.
It's not like that.
It's usually not like that. I mean, it's some.
I caught him on Minder.
Yeah, that's for sure. No, I mean, it is physical abuse. It'll be like some fight about the family coming. It's usually some fight involving the in-laws. That's usually what it is. They came, they stayed too long, they didn't say salam, they didn't look at me right. Some crap like that, and they start fighting about each other's family.
He can relate.
And then that's what happens, right? And then they have a fight, and they don't talk to each other, and they're divorcing, and it gets worse and worse, and it's like, dude, what the hell did you just do?
But you know what? I will say this much, though. I think we've been kind of, throwing some shade on some of these women, too. And I have to say this.
So sometimes the dudes, it'll be like dudes will just give the triple talaq because they'll flat the handle.
Yeah,
we all have these friends. I have some friends who were like freaking time bombs, man. They're like, I'm like, you guys are emotionally unstable. You're always popping off.
Yeah.
Always. And like, they're not stable. But I will also say this, though. I mean, I don't know the numbers, but I would assume here that a lot of these divorces or the problems start with bad finances.
That's huge.
Financial issues put strain on so many marriages. And I think, in my opinion, that men need to be doing more. And I want to do a show about this later on, but you have to find out how to bring your value as a man, because men, it may not be likable or not. Or, I mean, you may not like the fact, but what you bring as far as income and security is a big part of marriage,
and it needs to grow.
Just like what a woman brings her womb and her beauty, they may not like to hear that, right? Because it's just what it is, but it's a reality, right? So if you're not getting your money right, and you're not trying your hardest to make sure your family's comfortable and out there grinding, a woman loses respect for you.
Dude, that's so true.
The minute she loses respect for you, she's going to try to find every way to pick a bone at you and get out of that marriage.
The guy needs to continue to rise in status, be that financially, be that socially. And if you're just stagnant and you're just sitting in your basement all day and you're happy with your 9 to 5, no girl's going to be attracted to you.
It's not attractive.
Yeah.
It's what women, see, a lot of guys don't make moves because they feel like they're, I'm just comfortable. Why do I want to take the stress on? But what that tells to a woman then is that, hey, you don't care about her enough.
Yeah.
You don't think about our kids enough. right? So she starts panicking, ideas come in her head. Then her dumb friend comes in, you're a queen, you're a boss, you can do what you want to do, you should go tell him, right? All these things, it's a perfect storm in her mind. But if she feels that, hey, my man is in control, they associate education and money with stability.
Yeah.
That's just the reality, it's a psyche.
Yeah, and just playing the other side, right? I mean, just to be a little fair, there is a lot of domestic violence happening.
Yes.
There's dudes who are freaking disgusting, man. Like punching their wives, kicking their oh god.
Yeah.
And that's a huge problem, and it's a control issue. A lot of people think it's an anger issue. It's more of a control issue, and you'll see that in the finances where the girl has no debit card, no nothing, no car, and she has to sit at home all day, and the husband is like making sure she's not calling nobody.
Yeah.
You know, and so you see that too. So from the guy's perspective, it's definitely abuse. It's definitely not being able to get it up anymore because they watch too much crap. It's, they're not motivated. So there is blame on the guy's side too.
Sure.
But I do think that it's almost easier to motivate the guy through external means than it is the woman.
I mean, a lot of these problems that guys have right now is fixable. Right, meaning it's not something being ingrained into them. It's actually taboo for us still, right? What women have to fix now for women is empowerment and feminism is a cancer, right? It's a goddamn cancer. And I know a lot of people are gonna be pissed off when I say this, but if you're a feminist, I don't even want to look at you in the face. Like I don't even. No, honestly, we have nothing in common. You want to destroy families, and you want to destroy. You are my enemy right now, my arch enemy, right? I mean, no, because I think I can trace a lot of these problems to what your mentality is bringing. You may not be doing it intentionally, but what you represent is disgusting to me, right? And I think men, for example, intimacy, right? Hey, you know what? If a man spends time out there working hard instead of doing dumb things, and he's coming home to his wife, who, by the way, dresses up for him. He doesn't, he doesn't come home to her wearing some rags, right? Because men notice things like that. Why are you dressing up to go outside with your friends, but you're not dressing up for me? Like, what's going on here? Especially when I pay for that stuff, right? Like, so I mean, I think there's a way to resolve that. Like, if a woman, it's not hard to get a man to be attracted to you if you're married to him, the intimacy of comfortable, all that. He married you for a reason, right? He obviously found you attractive, right? It was men aren't that hard, but a woman if your woman puts that effort. A man's very easy. You can pull him away from those things. A lot of times men are looking at pornography and things like this because that's how they got used to doing. I mean, I think delaying marriage is a big problem, but also not receiving sex when they want it is a big part of why they just end up deviating and doing crazy things, looking for second spouses, pornography, going outside, just, even being on a dating app just for looking, right? There are guys who, I mean, it's wrong. I'm not denying it's wrong, but you have to look at the motivating factor behind it.
But let's push back on the feminism thing, right? I agree that feminism is destroying marriages, right? But I think, where does feminism come from? Feminism came from Industrial Revolution. Prior to that, the Enlightenment. Prior to that, whatever, the death of God, or whatever these different things are. So I agree with you that feminism is a big problem and that is causing the downfall of society. But I think even broader than that, it's even broader than feminism. If we only concentrate on the feminist aspect of it, that this is the girl's problem, and I know you're not saying that, right? I know you're not saying that. But if it's the girl's problem, we're not addressing the other societal aspects of economics, of how our communities are set up, or how we're doing the background search, or whether prenups and all this stuff. I don't know. It could create more enemies than it solves the problem.
No, I get that, and when I say, I think when I say feminism, it depends on which people. I think feminism works for Catholic women.
Sure, yeah.
Right? Because they were treated as property. They don't have an option. Muslim women have options. They understand certain things.
Yeah.
My gripe is with Muslim feminists. Like, feminism in Islam does not work.
So, yeah, you're talking about like first wave, second wave doesn't apply to Muslims because we already had that.
Already had it, right? We're talking about modern day. I mean, for the Catholic woman, she was treated like a piece of dog. Like she couldn't speak nothing. She had no right to property, inheritance, nothing.
You're talking about the sexual revolution,
post, and then not only that, the idea that now it's not only that, and the reason why I say it's just feminism is not because I have anything to do with women's rights. If you want to have a right to get a job, you want to get educated, I have no problem with that. But when you start coming for the traditional male and start telling men now that, it's because of your behavior, it's because of your traditional masculinity that we haven't been able to achieve, and that we have to kill that. That's where I have a problem, because traditional masculinity means being responsible, being accountable, being a provider, being a protector, being a father, right? Being a leader. These are important things. When you take that away and try to say someone else can just do that job, it destroys families.
No, I agree with you.
And that's my problem with it, right? Like they're trying to, they're really trying to destroy that family. I think it's a whole separate conversation, but that's what I say when I go into this. I think it's leading men to be pushing them away from marriage, pushing them away from taking women seriously, pushing them away from academic because they have to deal with this nonsense. You have to watch what you say. There's a lot of negative ramifications of this, and I think we can't get away from that now. Yeah, Sim, what are you thinking?
Well, I see when you say feminism, a lot of people just think that they don't. It's so loosely defined that they think that you're against women's rights, and that's not what you're talking about. You're talking about a certain type of attitude that has affected families, where women are just looking at these relationships in that kind of a framework, and they're saying that, oh well, if you do this, then I do that, and there's not what's it called, equity. They want equality, but they're not getting what they are actually. They're not recognizing what their femininity is, but they're looking at things from an equality perspective, and I think that whole way to look at a relationship in terms of, oh well, this is what you're getting, this is what I'm getting, and this is what I'm getting. That transactional relationship, that's going to fail. And because what happens is when someone's not living up to that kind of a transactional relationship, you have what happens with like countries, sanctions. So the woman will stop holding back, on intimacy and things like that, and then the husband will respond in kind with his own measures, and that's how like families collapse. And and I think those attitudes are really affecting women in terms of that. And I think they're actually, even when they think it's helping them, when they think that they're getting what they deserve, it's hurting them because the general attitudes of society about what their expectations of women are reshaping their roles. So for example, like a woman, if she gets married to a man and she's not providing, society will, like many American families, will look at that girl and say like, oh well, you're not even contributing to the family. And she's like, well, I'm trying to be a homemaker. I know there's traditional American white families as well too that don't subscribe to this notion, but the general attitudes in America right now, irrespective of race actually, is that, oh, the woman should be working, and that's not necessarily the right understanding to have. What is beneficial? They don't look at the family unit as a family, that you're trying to protect the family, and all the members of that family are working together to increase the financial, moral, overall quality of life of that family. But it's just more now transactional.
No, I agree, and I think what he's saying is spot on, because the reality here is that men and women, or this is what they don't want to hear, men and women will never be equal. We can be in pursuit of equity, which is what Islam gives us, but we're not looking for equality. And the quickest way to overcome that is, we don't see equality they're demanding equality in all areas, but when we really challenge it, right, we don't find WNBA players playing in the NBA. Yeah. We don't find female UFC fighters fighting male UFC fighters, right? We don't find, Serena Williams playing male tennis for a reason. She would get wiped out by the top 100, right? I mean, it's just not even something that we even fathom. Or there's basic things that we understand that, hey, when there's something happening, we secure women and children first. It's instinctive for men to do this, right? And even women who are proud and equality, they're expecting men to take that role, right? And say, help, because you're stronger physically. And not only that, we're also decisive. There's certain qualities that men have that women don't have in certain areas, and certain qualities that women have. But the point being is that we're not equal. We can have equity in the side of the law, in the side of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Opportunity versus outcome, right?
Right, exactly. Yeah. And the whole point is that, so I understand that, and by the way, there's no shame in saying that a woman can get education or work. I have no issue with that. As a matter of fact, hey, if you're a woman and your husband gives you good mahar and you want to start a business to secure your interest, do so. I mean, there's no problem with that. Don't let it interfere with your family life. Don't let the modern feminists tell you that your priority is you and your queen boss lifestyle over your family, right? Your family is number one priority, because the reason why I say that is because most likely your husband, his priority is your family too. He's working extra hours. He's planning already about retirement, about college funds, about marriage's costs. He's planning that already in his mind. Just because you don't realize that he doesn't verbalize that to you, because most likely he doesn't want to stress you with that stuff. It doesn't mean he's not planning. He doesn't got, that's what I'm trying to get people to understand.
More, after my divorce, I met quite a few different girls from all kinds of different backgrounds and stuff. And look at the face he's giving me. Bro, no, it's not a flex or anything. It's just the way what had happened.
40 and in demand, baby.
But I'm telling you, what astounded me was so many career women not willing to sacrifice their career to get married. And I was like, this is such an interesting thing, because on a sociological level, everything is okay with me, at least in terms of how I match up with them. But they're like, well, my job is in such and such state, or I don't want to move over to your state, or things like that. And I was just like so perplexed, because
they want a boyfriend, not a husband, right?
Yeah, well, here's a man willing to take care of all your bills, make you feel, they take care of you.
It out, yeah,
and then like all that stuff, and you want to choose this career that's.
Are we talking about like EVP, like divisional vice presidents that you're talking to?
No, I'm not saying EVP. I'm saying
women of status, like they're attorneys, or they're in medical professions and stuff like that.
But what do you expect if they went through the education system here and they're indoctrinated with all this from first grade till 16th grade? What do we expect from them? It's our fault for not educating them ourselves and our community in the Islamic ideals. We've made Western ideals their goal.
Actually, our community has a problem where we tell you that, hey, if you don't get a degree and all these things and you don't do that, you're useless.
Exactly.
And so no one's gonna marry if you don't have a degree. And the reality is, what people and parents need to realize, parents who have daughters, is that high quality men, don't give a damn about the woman's income status and her educational status. Women mention those things on their Minder, Tinder, Grind, whatever profiles are on.
You say Grinder?
Yeah, is that Grinder one? Wasn't that one of them? I don't know. Isn't that? I don't know. I didn't
know there was girls on Grinder.
Oh, I don't know. Is that a?
No, Grinder's a gay app, dude.
Oh, I had no idea. I don't know. My bad. Sorry, guys. I didn't mean Grinder.
Yeah.
Maybe I was lesbian. I don't know. But anyways. The point being is that they're mentioning these things because that's what they desire in a man. Mm-hmm. They think that since that's what they desire, that men want that in them.
Well, more. You don't even know the gravity of what I'm saying. Like, there's girls who have kids that you give them like the assurance, like, hey, I'm going to take care of your, not just you, but your children. Mm-hmm. They came from a previous marriage, and they still have this like. They're so unwilling to be under that protection that the man provides. It's so perplexing.
Do you think a part of that though is because the trauma of being divorced and having to rely on a man made them feel like, I'm never again am I going to be in a position where I can't fend for myself?
Well, yeah, I mean maybe, but it's also like so contrary to their nature. The nature of a woman wants to feel protected. They want to be under the umbrella of a man. And when they find that man, they're like, oh, well, this is too scary. This is too scary to be,
For the divorced woman who has kids, I understand where she might be reluctant. I'm talking about like a 35-year-old who's never been married, and she's like this career woman, and she's like refusing to compromise.
Yeah.
Like, that's just mind-boggling to me. Like, do you not realize that you're at the wall? Like, that you probably can't have any kids anymore by the time you get married? Like,
I think
you're going to be useless.
It's going to take us a generation. When we try out new ideas, and this is a new idea, right? Yeah. This last 50 years, the sexual revolution and, destroy the patriarchy, this is all going to backfire in the next generation. I think when women realize that they're dying alone, they're going to tell their nieces and nephews, get married.
Get married young!
But not just that they're dying alone, but they're actually they don't have kids. They used up majority of their youth in pursuing their career. Their children are being born with defects because of having children at a late age, and I think the overall basic unit of the family is collapsing, and I don't know if that repair can even happen, because if you have so many people, you just look at the most impoverished nation or areas of the country, whether it's white, black, or any ethnicity, the breakdown of the family unit happens when there's missing fathers, kids who are being raised by gangs or other areas of property, other areas where a family should be taking care of the kids. And when that breakdown happens, I think the overall society collapses.
Yeah.
And I don't know how you can repair that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what the way forward is. That I mean, this is why I say like this neo-feminism has been this cancer that's got to be rooted out in some way. Yeah. But that's kind of one of the reasons why I was inspired to create this shirt that has the Ibrahim and the patriarch.
So
right?
I was gonna I want to tie it back to some practical steps, right, for people, right? Because so let's say, so sister calls you up, right? And is like, hey, I'm gonna file for divorce, and then let me also file. What's that one thing that restraining order crap?
Protection.
Yeah, all that. I kept that out of nowhere. Like all of a sudden, like, yeah, I'm gonna, and dude's gonna be booted out.
Yeah.
And the restraining order has to be, it's valid for like 2 weeks, right?
2 weeks, and then you get a hearing, and then it can be for 2 years. Yeah.
So let's say so the dude gets booted out. What should the guy do? Should he just like not? He has to go maybe get a hotel. What?
He needs to lawyer. Yeah, go to a hotel, lawyer up, file a motion to vacate that OP.
Yeah.
And get a hearing as soon as possible to show that this is BS.
Okay.
I mean, there's a lot.
And then if he can override that, then he can come back to his house.
See, that's the question then, right? Yeah, maybe legally you can come back to the house, but is that really the smart thing to do now?
No, because then it's like, okay, so he's got to be able to be mental. He has to be able to have his wits, right? Yeah. And that's part of the thing too. So this whole thing is like, dudes, if we're gonna be men, we're not supposed to be emotional and like fly off the handle, right? Yeah. So you keep your wits about you. You go back to the crib, right? And then can you then have you had situations where, because you know the whole thing is Islam. So now here's the thing.
Here's the thing. Some of these women are planning this for months. Yeah. So they completely catch the guy off guard.
Right.
He has no idea what's going on.
So guys should always be ready. I almost feel like
bank accounts are being dried out. Yeah. They don't know what was in the works for several months, and they're in shock. They have no idea how to handle it.
Like, I think my wife is happy, or sure, and then next thing you know, like this has been in the works.
Like I said, people are planning for 3 years, bro.
So the advice for husbands is like, no matter what, you should always have some kind of like backup. Like you should have something like some kind of fund put away somewhere to be ready. Just be ready.
Here's the other thing, right? Is that creating the situation, like if guys want custody, right? And what happens is that they'll be like, oh, my wife's crazy. She did this once, she did this twice, but you're still going to work 9 to 5 every day. You're going on boys trips, leaving her alone with the kids. That doesn't jive together with the court. So there's 4 decision-making areas, okay? Right. There's healthcare, education, extracurricular activities, and religion.
Right.
The dude needs to be involved in all 4 of those areas. Go to the freaking doctor's appointments. Be involved in soccer. Take him to like if you're involved in these 4 areas throughout the last 2 years before the divorce is filed, you have a much higher chance of getting that 8-6 or that 50-50 schedule.
So I feel like this is so negative because I feel like now you have to like people probably think oh my god, I have to tally every time she does something bad to me so I can have it for record case. Yeah. I gotta do this. Like it's more of a look. I gotta tally this stuff up.
And that's what I was saying in the beginning, right? Like as soon as you come to me and I tell you this, your perspective's different now,
Yeah. So you got to make sure you're if you're taking your kids to school, you're taking them to like karate or sports, right? You got that.
Yep.
You're taking them to like your part in doctor's appointment, that kind of thing. You're already doing it.
Yeah.
And then she all of a sudden, boom, divorce, restraining order.
Yeah.
I'm out for 2 weeks. You got to go get a.
Yeah. Then you're climbing back up the wall. That's the problem.
Right.
You're still, inshallah, you'll get back there, but you got to climb that wall, right? And so that maybe you get a good GAL. You got to get the right GAL.
How much cash should you have just to survive the first month? That's sitting around that she can't. They should be like she doesn't know about, right? Hidden somewhere. How much would you recommend having?
I mean, at least 15 grand, bro, because you got to pay $5 grand to the lawyer.
Yeah.
And then you got to pay your expenses for.
Can we create? I have a business idea. Can we create divorce insurance?
Bro, I thought about it, man.
Like
there's other
you can
people
put
who have
money
done
away
it. Yeah.
tax free for in case you get divorced.
Yeah.
She can't touch that money, but you can use it for
Litigation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you can't screw me now.
Right. So it could be under the Arkwright Corporation that we're talking about.
Arkwright Corporation. Yeah, exactly. I hate divorce insurance.
Let's do it.
Man, it's great, bro.
I'm down. I need an actuary. I was actually thinking about it, man. But if you had an actuary to figure out the premiums, let's do it.
Yeah, I have an actuary. A couple, but I know two
I
of
don't
them.
know how profitable I think it would be because it's like what divorce rate's 50%. What's the rate for Muslims though?
I would
50%?
say it's getting up there. It's like 40%, bro.
Really? Yeah.
It's getting up there.
And
And
then
they're probably all recent marriages. Like within the last 5 years, probably.
So we did like a study. We had this intern. We didn't know what else to do with her. But basically, we looked at 200 random cases and found that average length of marriage is 8 years, 2 kids, $100,000 household income,
Joint?
joint household income.
that ain't jack, dude.
Yeah,
That's not a lot.
That's
That's
not a
not a
lot.
lot.
That's
That's
not a
like-
lot. And here's another thing: you do see that the middle class, that line that divides the middle class between working and upper, is where you'll see a lot of divorces, because that's where the financial struggle is happening.
I knew it, man. Finances.
Yeah.
Men, get
So
your
you're,
money right.
so you're not making enough.
It could be, or like somebody wants a better life than they have, or whatever. But yeah, I forgot what the point was.
No, the point is that, I mean,
We're
what's
talking
the
about
divorce rate for Muslim?
Yeah. So it's about 40%, I would say.
You mentioned earlier 95% of women or people who can get maintenance, not someone, are taking it, right?
Yeah.
And I would assume that most of those are not where it would be Islamically compliant because it wasn't
Correct.
noted in the prenup,
Correct. 100%.
right?
Yeah.
What percentage of your client, like out of those 95%, which percentage are women versus men who are getting maintenance?
I mean, it's mostly women. I mean, mostly women.
Okay.
I mean, it's barely. I've had a few cases where the guy will use it as leverage.
Yeah.
For the negotiation and drop it at the end. And I mean, I've seen guys take it too. But it's definitely women, way more. That's for sure.
Man, I mean, this whole episode was super like informational. I wish we had a lot more time to do it, but
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many more things that I bet you there's tons of questions we're gonna
Dude,
get
I
in
have
the
so much
comments.
in my head too.
Yeah, but I think what
But-
they should really do is probably head over to your channel, like you're Naveed Husain on YouTube, and you have series on divorce, and like you do these kind of things, right? Where
sure.
you do Q&A sometimes, right? You bring people on. Yeah, I mean, and I expect that you would get a lot of information if you went over there. But I think Sim, you wanted to add something.
Well, Naveed's a local friend of ours, so
Yeah.
he's always welcome back on the show. If you guys have more questions, throw in the comment section below so that we can, maybe ask him on the next episode we have with him, and he can always just swing by to the studio. I think you're
10 minutes away.
Yeah, and
10 minutes
anytime you have a crazy divorce case and you want to talk about it,
Dude, I gotta leave you with one, man.
Yeah, let us
I
know.
don't know.
Yeah.
No, we got
It
time.
only felt like it was 5 minutes, bro. Holy crap.
Yeah.
All right, I got a crazy one for you. All right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm like trying to be careful not to give it away, but basically, a Muslim girl, okay, gets caught cheating with some black dude.
Wow.
Black gangster dude, okay? And
How long
she
she
a
been married?
practicing Muslim? Like hijab and
not hijab, but
Okay.
practicing.
How long she been married?
At this point, it was like 9 years.
Okay.
Okay? She gets caught cheating. The guy finds out, and the guy says, you know what? I'm actually down with that. I didn't know if I could talk about this. stuff
No,
on
go
here,
ahead,
bro.
go ahead. No, you
you
can go
can't.
ahead.
Oh, hell yeah.
Mahi's
Let's hear
enjoying
this.
this.
Yeah.
Okay. So basically, the guy's like, you know what? I'm actually okay with it, but afterwards, give me a video call and explain to me the details. Okay? And this went out for 2 years. They started partying with these dudes. It came to a point where...
Wait, rewind.
So he's a
Wait,
cuckold.
wait,
So he's a
the-
cuck.
Yeah.
The
The
guy's a
youth.
cuck.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So it comes to a point where now, I don't know what happened, but there's like a family party, and the guy decides he's going to have an intervention and starts playing the videos in front of her family.
Oh, the videos of them getting it on. Like he's been recording this joint.
He's been recording the girl describing
Oh.
to him what just happened.
Oh.
And he plays these videos in front of the family and files for divorce.
Oh,
That was
gangsta.
freaking... I don't know if he planned it or
But
what.
2 years of going through
I
it?
don't know. I'm sure he enjoyed it. I'm sure he enjoyed
see,
it.
It would have been
But-
it would have been like really slick if he was like, "Oh, tell me
Yeah.
about it right now. I'm down with it," and then
Yeah.
bam, do it right away after the
Yeah.
first
No, I
recording.
think he was enjoying it.
But 2 years of like listening to
No,
that.
he's definitely a cuckold. But
Yeah, definitely
oh,
do you.
Now was he
But-
maybe using that to also sleep around on his end?
I'm sure he was.
Look
Yeah,
at
they
that.
were like doing coke. They were going nuts, bro.
Yeah, no.
Wow.
Look, I was thinking maybe.
might be a
And
great-
the kids go to Islamic school, just by the way.
He might be a great
my
co-host on the show.
God.
Yeah.
We-
No,
we-
but I was thinking maybe he was like, maybe he's probably thinking like, maybe the financial motive here. Maybe he's like, I can show the course you do for 2 years. I tolerated this, and I want to get money. I want to milk her out.
It's funny because I represented the girl, and I got 70% of his crap.
Wow.
I know that's so bad. I don't know why I'm smiling, but bro.
Wait, so a woman can cheat on you
Oh yeah.
and get 7% of your money?
Yes.
I hate this system.
Yeah, bro. It's a crazy.
Burn it down to the ground.
It's a
bro.
crazy system.
I
It's a
will
crazy
never. If
system.
I ever get divorced, I will never ever use. I'll never do a regular traditional marriage again in my life. I'm doing corporation.
No.
And if any woman
No.
out there want to jump on a corporation, we'll send you the application.
Yeah.
There's an employment screening in mind. You're on the line to do that. You might screen her.
All right. Thank you so much, Naveed,
Thanks
for
for having
coming
me, man.
through. We're really excited, and I know we're going to have a lot of feedback from this episode, and we can't wait to address those questions with you
Inshallah.
after this episode airs, and maybe in a couple months or something.
Inshallah.
But thank you again. No Merry Christmas. Miladul Nabi. How about that? Merry Miladul Nabi. It's a.
So Christians say Eid Saeed.
I mean,
It's
like,
the Christians say
Eid
that.
Milad
it's-
Saeed. Like yeah, they say
yeah.
Christmas, Merry
oh,
Christmas.
Christian Arabs.
Yeah, they
Okay.
say. But
We're now let's say Merry Christmas.
we'll say Merry Shirkmas.
But yeah, uplifting topic for a very special day.
Merry Shirkmas.
Yeah. Merry Shirkmas, I think. All right,
I mean,
guys.
mine enjoyed it. I know that.
Oh, this is awesome. Man, I was looking forward to this. Like, I didn't sleep last night. I was like,
So wait,
talk
was
after,
there
bro.
anything? Wait, before we end this up, was there any question you didn't get to that you wanted to ask?
no, I think I'm good. I was wondering though if I could like get dibs on you. Like, let's say for example, like,
Pay the consult fee, bro.
okay,
That's all you gotta do. Pay the consult fee. We're good.
no dib. No, I'm saying like, can I get a clause put on? Can you
That
publicly?
his wife can't use you, only he can use you.
Yeah, yeah.
That's what I'm saying. If you pay me a consult fee, you schedule an appointment at my office.
Oh, because conflict of interest already.
Yeah.
Boom.
Day
All
one.
right, I got you. Okay,
Yo,
cool.
Just take out $5 right now and just give it to him. It's done.
It's done, bro.
All right.
All right. Oh, maybe you just join us as a sponsor, and then your conflict of interest already has occurred with everyone on our
That's true.
team.
That's
Yeah,
true.
now we're
Alright.
the game plan.
Yep.
You can't use it on so it's conflict of interest.
That's true.
Right.
All right, guys. Thank you all for joining. We'll see y'all next time. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.
Damn, bro. I could have kept going, man.